Hey students, welcome to episode 19 of the Film Student Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Lazzeroni. My guest this week is Chris Dritsas from the Red Cohort. We talk about the 48-hour film project, the evolution of Tim and Eric's style of television show, and just when you think the episode is about to wrap up, Chris shares his Term 3 project synopsis, and believe me, it is worth waiting for. On with the show.
I'm not even quite sure how to pronounce my name right. Like my whole family's like, just say Dritsas.
Close enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we usually get Dristas, like everything but the name.
Yeah, I tried the Dritsas thing at first. I tried to Brett Favre it and just
yeah, that's totally fine because I'm like, I get it. I think it's confusing too.
All right. So what brought you to Harold Ramis? How'd you end up here?
That's a story. Originally, I think to go back, I have a background in like theater and film, but just like low key stuff for like I got my degrees at St. Cloud State, Minnesota, which is like in central Minnesota.
Yeah.
So very small department, which is like, they don't have a budget, which is like a bummer, but like, hey, there's not very many students, so you get a lot of attention, which was cool.
How big is that school? How many students?
The school itself is big. It's just those departments are just not huge.
Yeah.
I think it's like maybe 30,000.
Oh,
it's a
wow.
weird school because a lot of people go there for like their first, maybe second year, and then they're like, "Get me the hell out of here."
Oh, it's the
Pardon me.
go-between school.
Yeah, and I for some reason stayed there. Probably should have eventually gone to the U of M, but that's neither here nor there. But anyways, I have a little bit of a background. Always liked comedy. In movies and video games, all that. I'm just a big entertainment nerd, I guess. And I think I was listening to Paul F. Tompkins' Spontanea Nation on the way to work, and I heard about this school, and I think it was literally the first round of doing it. So I think I heard about it maybe a week or two before stuff was due, and I was like, let's do it. Let's throw together like an application.
Submission packet, yeah.
Yeah, and I did. I just really like took off and like did it. It like nearly killed me. Like I had to prepare it in a week.
Especially with like the letters of recommendation and stuff like that.
Oh my God. It was just such a scramble, which is like pretty typical for me, but like it was the first time I just remember like, yeah, it's just like, I very much have like something where like if I find something I want, like I just tunnel vision and like take off like a rocket. Like I'm like, I want to do this. I got to do this. And it sounded really cool. I was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years out of college, just kind of doing the same job, which was a good job. And like just doing freelancing and stuff. But I was very much like not complacent, but I was ready for a change or ready to kind of move on. And I tried the first time, did not get in.
I feel like that's becoming like a refrain for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that I've talked to that submitted for the first or second class and got deferred or
pushed
declined
back,
and were encouraged to reapply later. So I think they just saw like a massive swell of people come in all at once for those first couple classes.
I think so. It's interesting to look back now because I remember at the time being like really like I think at least the first time just being like bummed out, like kind of low key bummed out, but like and then like I made a second one. Same thing. They kind of encouraged me to go at it again.
Yeah.
And first time, like, I think what happened was, it's weird because it's like when I didn't get in, I started like thinking like, well, what was wrong? Like, was it this? Was it that? Was it this? And I think it ended up being my submission video because I like put most of, if not all my work into that. And then like all my other material was like, okay. So the second one, like, I think I was like a little like butthurt about it. So I was like, let's make a video that's like a direct sequel to the first one. That's like, look at me.
Look at how much I've grown.
No, it was the opposite. It was like, look how like you've ruined my life. Like I'm like living in squalor. Like I'm drinking my own urine and all this stuff.
It was a takedown piece of yourself.
Yeah, honestly, like I think that's almost like I've noticed the pattern. I'm like, I like to like, if I ever make fun of something, it's like it's gonna be myself. Like I don't like to like attack people or anything like that. I'm like, I'll make myself look horrible Like I'll roll around in like mud and like scream and look like a crazy person, but I'm like, I don't want to like hurt somebody's feelings.
So I'll just hurt myself.
I'll just
That's
hurt myself. I'm
the
like,
safest
I
way.
don't care about that. That's fine.
So what was your submission video? Your work sample. What was that one?
The work sample. Let me think.
I did a video, but I realized a lot of people didn't do videos. They did did like artwork and stuff like that.
I think I did videos for both. The first one was something that I directed for the I think the 2014 Minneapolis 48-hour film festival.
Nice.
And that was a movie. We got the genre. What did we get? We got romance, and we had to use a tennis ball as a prop. And then I think our line was, oh God, it's like it was something really cheesy. But anyways, I ended up making like a 1950s or 60s like black and white sci-fi movie called Infiltrate, Woo, or Destroy. And it's basically about
Plan 9 from Outer Space, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Ed Wood
exactly.
style. Okay.
He comes down, he falls in love, and he has to choose between the love of his life or like blowing up Earth. Spoiler, he blows up Earth, but it's a tennis
As you're
ball.
wont to do.
Yeah. So that was one. And then the second one, I submitted one called What's This? And that's that was like one of my first videos I made out of college, like just with my buddies.
Yeah.
And with like a really crappy camera recorder, and like my dad is in it, and like it's just like in my friend's like house. I think his neighbors were like, we definitely didn't tell them what was going on, but they were like very freaked out at first because it's like a video about like this man who's walking his dog, and his dog takes a crap on some guy's lawn, or you think it's this guy's lawn, but this guy comes down and is just like, "What is this?" Like, is just so upset. He's like, "I'm so sorry, sir. I'll pick it up," and he's just like, "What is this?" Just getting so upset, and then you realize like the guy doesn't know what dog poop is, and it spirals out of control, and it gets really crazy.
So he's just
literally asking
a question.
What is this? Yeah, to the point where it gets weird and crazy.
Which is, I have to say, a hallmark of the things that I've seen coming from Casa de Chris.
I hope someday I have enough money where I have a Casa de Chris. Right now, it's just a dark room.
It's a basement.
It's a basement.
That's most of a basement.
Yeah, it's most of a basement, and I put up like blanket curtains, and I'm like.
But head funds still is just batshit insane to me in the most wonderful way.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you have a very Tim and Eric Andre, just Adult Swim in general sensibility. Is that your main influences coming into this, or have you just kind of organically arrived at the same spot that they did?
That's a really good question. I would say, I mean, like, I think it's, if I was like to go out and say like they haven't influenced me, I'd be like, punch that guy in the face. It's like, yes, absolutely. Like Tim and Eric are like if I could get out of this and like work for those guys, I'd be super happy. Like they're definitely like huge influences. Eric Andre especially. I think I've always just been attracted to stuff that's like, what is this? Like makes you a little bit uncomfortable, like a little bit like, what am I watching? Stuff that makes your eyes like widen, like kind of excited.
You're a Don Hertzfeldt fan too.
I love Don Hertzfeldt.
We talked about those in a couple episodes in the past.
Yeah, like, oh man, like Rejected Cartoons. That was like one of the first things I ever saw on YouTube. Next to the, I'm the Juggernaut bitch. And I think I watched that. Oh God,
I don't know how they
times.
didn't use that line in Deadpool 2.
They didn't.
They didn't.
Oh, I haven't. I got to see that stuff.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, but
yeah, like that stuff like that. Like I don't know. I've always been drawn to. Like I think it's partially because like my dad likes weird stuff. Like I guess my mom and dad, their first date, he took her to see Eraserhead. Don't know how I'm alive. She must have saw something in him at that time.
That says a lot about you.
I think
to know
so.
That's
yeah.
where. So, do your parents have the same kind of sense of humor that you do, or is it just your dad?
The older I get, the more I'm like, oh, Dad's a weirdo. Like I get it. My mom is like she's very dry, and like it's something where like she kind of grounds me a lot because like I will try to be like funny or like weird or something, and she'll just like be like roll her eyes or just be like just no reaction, like stonewall. Like she'll stonewall me a lot. And I'm like, that's good for me. But I think my dad's definitely the weirder one.
Yeah.
Like the older I get, the more I appreciate him and his humor. The more I'm like, oh, so that's like why I like to mess with people a little bit, or like that's why like you have like a weird way with dealing with like authority figures and stuff.
Where you get it from?
I'm like, it's from him. He picked a fight with a librarian one day. Like he's just I don't know. That's a whole nother thing. But like Adult Swim, like weird animation, like very into like. I mean, I gravitated towards like anime and stuff like that. Just stuff that I was like, oh, I'm not seeing stuff like this on TV or in movies. Like stuff that like makes me go like, oh, they're trying something different. And like not all the time does it work. Like sometimes it's like, oh, this is kind of weird, or not in a good way. But like sometimes it's like, oh crap, like what is that? Like that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and like that excites me.
Do you see some sort of evolution of that style coming? Because that's the one thing, is that it feels to me they've almost hit a point where it's a little one note in some of the things. Like I don't know. It's I was actually just watching that Howard Stern on the David Letterman thing that he's doing on Netflix now. My next guest is so he interviewed Howard Stern, and Howard Stern was talking about how when he went to Sirius, he had to rethink his approach to his show, because his show had always been pushing the boundaries. Like whatever the censor said he couldn't do, he would figure out some way to do it. Like that was the game. That's what made radio fun for him. And then when he got to Sirius, and they're like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. And he kind of went nuts with it for a little bit. And then he was like, I'm not having any fun doing this. Like, I'm just trying to push an envelope that doesn't exist. And he said he had to kind of reapproach how he comes at it. And I feel like that's what Adult Swim has almost curated, is that it's such a safe, like, consistent zone for that kind of stuff, is that it hasn't necessarily evolved past that. Like, I feel like the closest they've gotten is Rick and Morty.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good point. Because it's like when you look at Tim and Eric stuff, if you even look at commercials nowadays, it's like they like, I'm trying to think of a good one, like Old Spice, like even Geico, all of them, they're like going for that internet style humor. They call it like internet, or like, I don't know, whatever type humor. It's Tim and Eric-y.
Meme style, law style. Yeah.
And it's like, so I think it is, or if it's not, like it needs to, because it's at a point where it's like, well, if the corporations are trying to adopt it, it's like, it's time to move on.
It's officially hit that hipster point where it's like it's too mainstream.
It's not cool anymore.
Gotta go find something different.
Yeah. I mean, I think with Adult Swim, they're always doing weird stuff. I think now they're just finally getting funding to like lean into it a little bit more, which is cool.
Yeah.
I know the first time I ever noticed that it changed was like when they started doing live action stuff. And I remember being so
Children's
upset.
Hospital and live footage of a bear
attack or whatever.
Yeah.
Which that's a nuts. I just watched that one again for the first time in like years.
That one's insane.
Like that's another one like where it's like, I love that they did this. Like that one, I'm like, oh yeah, like this is totally like something I like. I love things that just go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But like that one, it's like, oh my God, like this is like, it's not funny after like, I'd say like maybe a quarter of it is funny, and then the rest of it is just like, oh my God, like this is like genuine, like it's actually like kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
So is it evolving? That's a good question. I think they're trying. I think the thing, maybe this addresses this question or not, but I think it's my prediction that they're going to start making fun of, or someone needs to start mocking like internet stuff more. Like Tim and Eric really nailed like making fun of public access and doing TV shows and stuff like that. But I think TV is kind of it's becoming kind of like the old guard a little bit. Like everything's streaming or like
which
internet,
is, it's a definite different market. If you're going for network TV, you have to be so mainstream as to catch as much of the swath of the country as you can in one pass, versus if you're going for something like Netflix, they will let you run to your corner and live there.
Yeah.
Because your corner is going to attract, 30% more, not even 30%, but like 5% more customers to them that are into that niche, and that's how they keep their subscriber base up. I inherently am paying for a ton of stuff on Netflix that I do not watch and have no interest in watching, but I view it as I'm paying for the 10% of stuff that's on there that I do watch that is interesting to me. And so the other 90% I don't really care about, because the 10% that's up there is enough to occupy my 24 hours a day if I really need to.
Exactly.
I could watch all day long and still have something new every time going on there.
That kind of overwhelms me. Like I honestly like don't go on Netflix anymore, because I'm like, this is unfamiliar. I don't know these shows. Like, there's times where I'm like, oh God, Jesus, I just want to watch a show that I know existed before Netflix.
Yeah. Well, and some of the absurd stuff too. It has been around for years. I mean, I remember, don't remember because it was before I was born, but I remember seeing footage or video of it. The old SNL bits from like their early, like the John Belushi days, with like the shark attack, sketch and stuff like that. That's amazingly absurdist. You know, that's not something that you would. The only difference between that stuff and stuff that you see on like Tim and Eric and stuff like that today is the fact that Tim and Eric has that quality to harken back to as a joke. That didn't have an older quality. Like that was the origination of that stuff.
Sure.
You know, it couldn't necessarily, like, now the joke is to do like the Dr. Steve rule and make it look like it's shot on VHS.
Yeah, exactly. Like make it look bad on purpose, or
right.
like low rent.
Because that's a joke in and of itself to say this implies that it's extremely low rent, you know, cost of production and you know, it's going to be complete crap.
Yeah.
And then you put a character that looks like they would be on like a basic cable channel, somebody who, you know, took the 3 classes at the local community center in order to get their own television show.
Definitely not a doctor, like,
no.
You know, or prophet or whatever. Oh, here's a way they may have evolved a little bit though. Is like I do know they stream stuff like 24/7 online, and like if you ever watch the Adult Swim streams, they're insane. They're ridiculous.
So they literally separate from the content they do on. I've never watched one of these.
It's completely separate from the stuff they do on TV. But there is stuff that they do on TV, or it's like maybe they'll air it like at 4 a.m. or something like that. But like they have like, I know I stumbled onto this one show where it's an hour show, and it's this guy, and he's got one of those little, it's like a little cage with balls. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the bingo
he's
roller
got the bingo
thing.
roller thing, and he takes it out, and he reads a number off, and he'll be like, whoever's screen name this is, you won this merchandise from this show from Adult Swim. But like, it's literally, I loved it because it's literally like the slowest build of a man like having a breakdown on television.
Is it? He's slowly like losing it?
He's like losing his, like, oh my God, it's so funny. Like, and something about that to me is like incredibly funny. Like they have a wonderful way of just like, they're not making jokes. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a jokey type setup. It's like, here's a man losing his like effing mind on TV.
Yeah.
And like no one's stopping it. It's just watching like a very slow train wreck or like a car crash, you know, and it's like, you can't not watch. And I'm like, I can't believe they're doing this. And it's like, they couldn't do this on TV.
There's something to be said for a camera that doesn't cut away. Yeah. That like just a long take of something, which I guess I do see now more with like is it Inarritu, the director that did Birdman and the Revenant, yeah, and just that single shot type look, and they did was it Hardcore Henry? That was all done with GoPros that were mounted first person, but it's meant to be like one continuous piece. Like there's something to be said for that. Like it's almost theater.
Yeah,
because you have to get such consistent performance. Now they're faking a lot of it; they're not doing it all as one continuous take. But you know, they can tell the story that way.
I mean that's like the first time I ever. It actually, this is like legit. Like what made me want to make movies was when I snuck into Children of Men, and we were gonna see some other crappy movie. I remember we got tickets to like, I think it was Chicken Little. It was something terrible. I was just like. After we like snuck in and saw this, I was like, why the fuck are we seeing Chicken Little? Like I was so upset. And after we saw it too, I was like, why did we see Chicken Little? But anyways, we snuck in, and so I mean that tells you I was like maybe 15 or 16. I was too young to see it. And it was the scene. It's that very long take at the
car.
End. Yeah. Well, no, it's the one at the very end. Where
running down the street.
Yeah, and there's like all that. Just everything's hit the fan. He's got the sandals on. He's like trying to get her out of the city.
Yeah.
And it goes up into like him going into the bus with all the people, and then like him up in the building, and like I remember just being like absolutely glued to this, like just being like, oh my God.
Just one continuous unbroken shot
Oh, and that was it. Like, and then I like immediately was like, I need to like go see this movie. And it was like in that period of years, it was like No Country for Old Men, Children of Men, and There Will Be Blood. Like those were my 3 like very influential movies, like for me, like to the point where like I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't watch a ton of comedies anymore, but like, but that being said, I think There Will Be Blood is a comedy. Like I think it's hilarious.
Well, and like the darkness is also its own, like, dark comedy is Will, I had on the show before, he is convinced that Blackfish is a dark comedy.
The documentary?
The documentary about the SeaWorld killer whales, like, killing people. He's like, they just keep on, like, showing them as like things for kids to go watch, and they keep on killing people. He thinks that's hysterical.
I mean, that's just a real life dark comedy right there. Oh man, he might be onto something.
It's a dark farce.
Oh my god. Will might be onto something.
He is. He definitely, out of all the people I've had come through, he is one of the ones that has the most defined personal vision style.
Interesting.
You know, he has a voice that is uniquely his and no one else's.
That's very interesting.
And so I'm very interested to see what he ends up creating down the road.
I'm going to listen to that episode. I want to hear more about this.
And that's something that he had told me about beforehand. And I'm like, this has to come up on the podcast. We have to talk about this.
Like, let's open this up. Let's dig into this.
He's just a very dark person, but in the best possible way.
I should talk to Will. He like that whole thing the other day where he brought me a jug, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, that was
like,
amazing.
I'm also like, wow, he's really thoughtful. Like, I can't believe he remembered that.
He's very nice and polite.
Yeah.
So you told, so you have to explain the story behind this now that you understand the full.
Now that like the whole thing is unraveled.
Now it's clear to you.
God, that was so. He literally, I think it was last week. He came up to me, either after class or like I was by a vending machine. Doesn't matter. We kind of were having like a nice little chat, and he said something like, "Oh, so I have like a gallon jug that like, you know, maybe you could use to drink out of, or like, I don't know, maybe pee out of or something like, or pee into something like." And I was just, you know, like something that caught me off guard. Hole. Yeah.
Use it as a funnel.
Do whatever you need with it. And I was just like, sure, yeah. I thought it was a bit.
Yeah. I would think it was a bit. Like, you're not alone in that interpretation.
I mean, it's like sometimes it's like the most wonderful thing, and like sometimes the most exhausting thing about this school is that you're like, when the hell are you telling the truth? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, there's just some people that are like, when is this insane,
and when is this a bit?
Yeah, and like sometimes you're like, this is definitely a bit, and like in this case, it was not a bit.
Yeah,
he was offering me a jug, like a gallon jug.
He said he just walked into a room and just handed you a gallon jug.
God, so it was so weird because he just was talking about it, and I was just like, sure, yeah, that sounds good, man. Like thinking it was a bit, like doing that thing where you're like, well, I'm not going to back down from the bit either, you know. Like I'm just, you know,
it's bit chicken. It's bit chicken. That's what
exactly. Where it's just like, I'm not going to back down. Let's see who can be weirder. It's a lot of that, you know. And then like lo and behold, like 2 days later, he came out of the screening room and he was just like, "Oh, hey, I have that jug. Do you want that?" And I was just like, "Sure, yeah, absolutely." Thinking that it was like
completely forgetting what it was in reference to. You said you didn't know what he was talking about.
No, I was just like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure." Like again, like trying to like play into the bit and like thinking like, "Oh, he has like a water bottle for me or something." I was like, "I don't know why he did this, but okay." And then like he hands me just a gallon, like a plastic gallon jug, and it's just a distilled water like thing, completely empty, and I'm just like, thank you so much, Will. Like not missing a beat, like because I'm just like, I don't want him to know that I forgot
what this
is about. And so I just go straight over to the water fountain and fill it up and proceed to use it for the rest of the day. And people keep coming up to me like all day, like, "Oh, are you trying to get into shape? Like, what's with the jug?" And I'm just like, I'm not really sure. Like,
I don't know. I just have a jug now.
I just have a jug. And they're like, "Where'd you get it?" And I was like, "Will." And like, I tell them this whole story, and they're like, "Wait, did he pee in that? Are you drinking like it? Like, did you wash that?" And I was like, "No." And I don't want to offend him though. Like, he did this really nice thing for me. And then I think Jeff. Well, you walked in, and then Jeff walked in. But anyways, like, we finally got to the bottom of it, where I guess in first term, like now I kind of remember this at the first like party we threw for Cyan and Magenta. I think I offhandedly mentioned that I keep losing my water bottles just because I lose stuff. I'm pretty forgetful. Like if you look at my backpack, I have like a lock to the backpack. I will like lock things to things because I'm so forgetful. I've lost like 4 or 5 water bottles this year. And he just was very sweet. He was, he remembered that I keep losing my water bottles and he got me a jug. And I was just like, what a sweetheart.
It's
like,
par
so
for the
nice.
course. It's par for the course. He's a very nice, considerate guy that just happens to also have the darkest sense of humor.
I think it's the nice
anyone
ones you have to like. It's like, oh, watch out for those ones.
He's
like in a good way. Like,
he's the quiet one that everybody talks about on the news reports after the fact. But I don't think he's ever going to act on it because he has comedy as his outlet.
yeah, he has an outlet so he can write it into his characters.
It's a way of spending this.
Yeah.
So like what? Having been in the program now, you're now into term 3, working on final projects.
Mm-hmm.
What have you gotten the most out of from this school? Because you said you came in, you'd been shooting stuff beforehand, you'd done some 48-hour and that sort of thing. What have you really gotten from this? And I was going to ask you for like headphones and stuff like that. Is that your editing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you came in with some editing chops.
Yeah. So basically, before this school, I did a bunch of stuff on my own. But I was just like in a constant state of like frustration because I just did not know where to go. Because I'm like, I know that I have this passion and I've been picking up these skills that are like, they're to get me along so I can make the stuff I want to make. But I was working a job where it wasn't film related and it was very condensed. It was overnight. So then I would have like the rest of the week to work on stuff. But the group that I was with, my old sketch group, they all, for the most part, like had real jobs and were like, I'm trying to pass the bar, like all this stuff. And I'm like, come on, guys, let's make a video.
Let's go make yuck yucks.
Yeah, it's like, let's make another video where I like am like screaming or like covered in some sort of body, you know, like something like, and trying to convince them like this is
the
more
key word
important.
in that was another.
Another, yeah, exactly. Like they've made sketches like making fun of me about like how it's like it seems like you just end up screaming or like covered in like something in all of your sketches, and I was like, that's fair. Part of you's like, how dare you? Then the other like is like, yeah, that's fair.
Thank you. At the end of headphones, pretty much everybody's covered in blood.
Yeah, everyone. I just I don't know why. I think extreme gore and I think the fact that we're so numb to it is really funny. I think, but I kind of was at a point where I hit a wall and I didn't know where to go. And I was just getting frustrated. Like I was getting like that level of frustration where like it was like not healthy. Like I had all this like passion and like energy, but I didn't know where to funnel it. So it's just like that pent up, frustrated kind of floundering, which I think that's probably the worst feeling in the world. And like I saw this place as an opportunity, like, and like the fact that they weren't like super technically like savvy, I was like, that didn't bother me. The fact that it was like about like writing and like about developing your style and stuff like that attracted to me. That was attractive to me. But like the thing that I have gotten the most out of, it's great to just be around people who are like in it to win it, like, and just in it to make the same stuff. Like that's been the biggest thing, is just the people. It's been like meeting people that are like have different styles than you, have different like humors and all that, but it's still at the end of the day, it's like we're all here to like support each other's visions and like, hey, you have this idea.
Consistent drive. There's people that
great.
are always looking to get something done, to make something every weekend, every week, weekday.
It's like the most. It's been amazing. And like, I think I've even told this story to like a couple other people when I was trying to put together my term 2, the Dancing Man. Like I was talking to Dale about like, oh, I have to like find this and this and this. I have these like many people in mind. And I remember you walked by and I was like, I had you in mind, like first person in mind for like my DP. And you literally walked by and I was like, oh, hey Tony, say, would you want a DP for this thing? And you're like, yeah. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, check that off my list. And then, oh God, who was it? Tim, who is the Dancing Man.
Who is hysterical.
He's amazing at it. He walks by too, and it's like, cool, I just got my DP and my lead, and I was just sitting talking to Dale. Like, it was great. Like, just that attitude. That's it's like the one thing that I love the most about here, and the thing that I will miss the absolute most is like, this will never happen again. Like, I'm never going to be at another place where like I'm just around like crazy, creative, fun people all the time who are like just in it to win it. Like, to the point where I'm like, if I ever have like some sort of way to like make an environment like this, I would love to. Like, this is such a great environment just for like just like spur of the moment and planning and just doing crazy fun like cool stuff and like being like, what are you doing? Do you need help? Do you need a boom operator? Do you need a PA? Whatever, like we can help. Like it's like I've never had that attitude.
People who are
before.
willing to do literally anything. Even, whether it's something they've done before or not.
Yeah.
If they haven't done it before, they're doing it for the sake of learning. If they have done it before, they're doing it because they're bringing some level of expertise or knowledge base to it. Yeah,
it's been great. And like going from like trying to pull teeth to get like one sketch together like a month to like being here and being like on a bunch of sets and like having like a crazy idea and being like, there's no way people will bite, you know, like there's no way people are going to want to do this, to being like, oh, like people want to do this. People like support your ideas.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it's a network, I guess. That's a dirty word though. It's like it's kind of like finding your tribe to sound stupid or like little, you know.
I don't think a network's a dirty word. I mean,
there's a especially negative connotation, but I don't think it's be dirty.
Lynn wouldn't think that that's a dirty word.
No, I should. Yeah, don't tell Lynn I said that. But it's that. But it also is like for sure. Like I know, it's like a couple of the teachers, like Dale and Mariana. Well, I mean, all of them. They've just been so supportive. And for me, it's like I think my humor is weird and it is a little out there. I mean, it is. It's not a little. It's weird and out there, and I want it to be. And I want it to be like I want it to make you a little uncomfortable at times, you know. But it's like they kind of finally gave me the permission I needed to just kind of go like balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Which I gave to myself, or like I got in like small portions, like from like friends and stuff like that. But like here, it was like
find your voice. Find the thing that is uniquely you, even if it is, you know, so far left of center that that you can't believe that anyone would want to watch it. Like,
and like finding out like, oh, like people might want to watch some of this, and like not feeling like a weirdo. I mean, feeling like a weirdo, but being like, oh, that's fine. Like you're amongst friends or like. Well,
that's something I hear consistently from people that did make it. That they said, you know, the big thing that unlocked it for me was I started making the stuff that I wanted to see. Yeah. Like I started, you know, writing movies that I thought were funny. I said, you know, and when you start creating that stuff, and even it's not even just in film, it's musicians too. Like I made the music that I wanted to listen to. Like those are the ones who are uber successful because if they like it, if they're into it, there's somebody else out there that also feels underserved by that availability of music or film or art or whatever it is, who will seek it out.
Totally.
You know, to the ends of the earth in order to be a part of it and to have it in their life. Like, so it's helpful to just kind of admit, like, I know this is weird. I know this is left of center, but someone else out there thinks that this is the most amazing, funny thing on earth.
It's like someone like out there, like how many people are here? Like someone has to like this. Someone has to get something out of this, and it's like getting.
We have
that
two
through your
bridies.
skull.
I mean, there anything can happen more
I
than
know.
once.
That's so weird to me. It's like there's only one Chris, but there's two bridies. It's like, how does that happen?
I think we're up to 4 Dans. I think we figured out the other day. Dans or Danny's or Daniels.
We should do something with that, like some sort of like end of the year review. Bring out the Dans. Like dancing Dans.
A big dance number.
Yeah.
And it's just all 4 of them come and stand on stage.
Yeah. It's like none of them can dance.
No, Dans, not dance. Dans.
Dans.
Oh.
They just, we just examined
way
them.
off.
This is Daniel. This is Danny Marshall. This is the Dan who's very tall.
Dan Murray.
Yeah, and then it's...
Dan Skolin.
Dan Skolin, that's it.
And Dan Ramis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's too many Dans. Should have a ban on Dan. A Dan ban.
Dan ban.
We're
just
here
coming
we
up
go.
with all great names for this.
Here, Dan Revolution. Boom. And force them to dance.
Dan's
Dan Revolution.
Dan's Dance Revolution.
Yeah, there you go. Sketch. Boom. Done. Oh,
Cut
no,
print.
shit. Now I'm going to want to do that instead of what I had planned for my third term.
You should do it this week, though, because Second City Shorts, Shut Up and Dance is the theme for it. I've got an idea. I just send it to Vivi to try and do one.
What's the one you're going to do with Vivi?
I'm hoping we get
Unless
off
you're trying to keep it under wraps.
Well, I mean, this is going to go up after the submission deadline's passed, so no, it's.
I don't know why I always ask that. I'm always like, I'm very much like a secretive person with my ideas, so I'm like, is it okay if I?
Okay. Can
is it okay?
Ask this?
Is it cool?
No, mine's it's the dumb idea of a couple that maybe he's like sitting on their couch and reading books or something like that, and they're both just happy, and, little smiles on their face. Then all of a sudden, the neighbor next door just starts blaring music, like so loud to the point where they can't talk to one another, and they look at each other like, this shit again. Like they've seen this or heard this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And so they start trying to make plans to go do something outside of the house together. And because they don't, neither of them knows sign language and they can't hear one another, they start signing in dance. So like one of them is like, you want to go see a movie, and does some dance like the crank in the movie, and then he goes, how about a Thriller, and does the dance from Thriller. Like, and so it's just going to be a bunch of puns like that, and we'll just subtitle all of them. That's great. Until eventually they finally come to a decision on what to go do, and then the music stops. Like
right as that's great.
Right when they're about to leave the house, and then they just go back and sit on the couch. Done.
Like, I guess we don't have to go do anything.
Yeah, and so it's pretty simple shoot. It's 7 or 8 camera shots, and just get them to do a bunch of dance moves, and we'll just subtitle. They don't even have to say them. They just do the dance, and we'll subtitle to translate.
Yeah, I mean, I will say like that's the thing I miss the most is like having time to do like smaller sketches. Like that's like the one thing I miss the most. Like, because I used to do like 2 a month, just like fun little ones. And like for me, it's great. Like from the school. Also, this is like backtracking, but like what does this school help me get? Like planning.
Yeah.
Like planning and organizing, which I'm still horrible at, but it's like I'm like leaps and bounds over where I was last year. Like being like, oh, like, yeah, like let's plan this out and like let's go down the checklist and stuff like that. But like I do miss like I think the most fun I've ever had are like those spur of the moment, like what about this and this and this, like the improv-y kind of ideas that are just like off the wall.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of people get kind of frustrated with some of the little or the smaller movie stuff we have to do here. Myself included. I'll get super like frustrated. Like I have a final. I can't do this. I'm not making a stupid chase video. Screw you, John. Like get all mad. And then I do them, and then I have so much fun. Like there's so much fun to do, and it's like those end up being like
the annoying assignments are the ones that wind up being super fun.
Well, it's like a lot of the time you're like, oh, I don't care about this, and then you end up using that energy and like being like, well, I don't care, so I'm going to do something weird with it or fun or experimental.
It's almost like I'm going to say fuck you by doing something really good.
I think that's like, it's like any sort of success I've ever had is literally what you just said. Is like, oh, I can't do that, huh? Well, fuck you.
I'm gonna go do something better.
I'm gonna do something better. Like it's like spite.
I'm creative out of spite. That's what that is.
How dare you? Oh, fine, I'm gonna make something really weird then. And then they're like, yeah, we like this, and I'm like, that was my intention the whole time.
I was not anticipating that.
Yeah, like, you're trying to like play it.
Fine, off. Thank you. It is very nice of you to say that.
I anticipated you would say as much. Good day.
Good day, good sir.
Yeah, just walk away.
All right, so kind of wrapping up here. If someone were looking at going to either this program or a program like this, any advice for them? Any suggestions?
A lot of the people I've talked to, it seems to be a pattern that this was kind of like I don't know if make or break is the right thing, but it seems to be like this is like a huge transitional thing for people. I don't know if that's even the word either. Like people who've graduated I've talked to, it's like this school kind of takes something out of you. Like not necessarily in a bad way, but it's
you
like...
You could literally say shit or get off the pot, and this is the school that gets the shit out of you.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, it was for me, like where it's just like I could have stayed back in Minneapolis and ended up getting like a corporate editing job, like literally about the time I found out I got into this, which when I found out, I didn't realize my application was even like still in circulation. Like I was like, oh, like I'll just wait off and like try again next year. And I got the call and I was like, oh, like I have an opportunity to like get like a real person job now.
Yeah.
And I ended up going here and it was absolutely worth it. Like this has probably been the best decision I've made in my adult life, but I'd say it sounds so dumb and cliche, but it's like go for it. It's like make the leap. It's not necessarily I remember like it taking me months to like agonize over if I was going to do it or not, and I think I like kicked and screamed the whole way because it was just a complete change of lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
And it was tough for the first few months. And there's still times where it's tough, but like at the same time, it's like I'm here and it's amazing, and it's like you're around all these other people. There's times I have to remind myself, you're at Second City.
Yeah.
You need to stop whining. Like, I know that you're here in this building all the time, but like this is really cool. And like you are whining about having to make a comedy like short. Like you need to like shut the hell up and like get back to it.
Well, and just the people that you see like randomly walking around. You know, I was going to go write something the other day and sit down at one of the tables, and the Broken Lizard guys are getting a tour around the building.
Like that's insane.
I was going up the escalator the other day coming in for class, and Frank Coyote, who's just a hysterical improviser, is coming down the escalator going the other way. And it's just it's
nuts.
You're here with the people that are making the stuff that everybody loves.
Yeah, and it's like, and you know that you're here with the, like people who want to do the same thing as you. Like whether it's not the same medium or whatever, like it's like you all kind of have the same boilerplate, like this is what I want to do. Like we're all heading in the same direction. I guess my advice would be like, if you are actually like passionate about it, or like think you are, or like, I would say just go for it. Like it might be painful, it might be tough, like to get down here or like make the big leap, but it's worth it. And I think things that are worth doing aren't going to be easy.
Yeah,
you know, and
anything worth doing is not easy.
Yeah, I mean, like making stuff this year, like that I've never done before. It's like tightening screws. It's awful. It's painful. But then it's like you do it, and it's like that's amazing. I did something I never ever thought I could do, and it's like years and years of being like, I can't do that, and then finally you do it, and you're like, oh, like I'm not as like helpless or whatever as I thought. Like you can do it, and it's like, at least for me, it's like this place has been a huge like eye opener of like the possibilities are so much larger. Or like there's so many more than I like thought, and it's like it got me completely out of a funk. So I guess in short,
backed
like
up for you.
Yeah, it's like I guess make the leap is the advice I have.
Nice.
And like also, it doesn't hurt to live with people from different cohorts. That's been really sweet.
Yeah,
like we're a house divided. We're red and orange. That's been great because I know for me, I've kind of made it my like a goal to like kind of float around, like get to know everybody.
Yeah.
You know, like that's been great. Like that helped me like meet most of the folks in Orange who are great. Like, and I know everyone in Red obviously because I'm in Red.
Right.
But it helps me like meet a bunch of people who are like graduating, like blues and purples and the greens, cyan and magenta. Obviously, it's like get out there, like meet people. It's like they're all friendly for the most part. I mean, I'm like, is there anyone here that I'm like is a total a-hole? Like, no.
There are people that you might from reading the book by its cover interpret to potentially be total a-holes, but once you get like past
peel the
facade,
onion layers, to make a Shrek reference, greatest film.
Why does Shrek keep coming up on this podcast? Like,
Shrek is love.
It's a regular thing. Although you said you listened to the Alec episode, so you
I mean, it's I think he almost right out of the gate talks about Shrek, but
he was so excited to talk about Shrek.
Yeah, I don't know. I that's a thing. Like, there's a weird trend. That's an internet trend right now. It's like people love Shrek.
Yeah,
for some reason. I don't know why, but anyways, that's off topic.
Well, wrapping up here. So who, or if somebody wants to come try and find you, social media, anything like that, any stuff that they can come track you down, any website, anything like that? I'm
sure I have like my portfolio thing or something like that. I might have to email it to you. It's something that I think I made before the school. I'm trying to get better about it. I'm not much of a social media guy. I think I'm like at C Dritty on Instagram. Have you ever heard of Instagram?
I have. I'm aware of Instagram.
I became aware of it this year. Yeah. I was aware of it.
Dritty.
Yeah, C Dritty. And I'm like, you'll go on there and you'll be like, oh, okay, these got like 6 pictures. I'm not much of a poster. I like
people following those.
Yeah, hopefully I'll have more videos that I can put out eventually. But I put them out on Facebook. I know right now I'm trying to figure out like what the hell my deal is with like a YouTube channel, because I have an old sketch group called Dad Parade that I used to post to. Now I just post to my own personal Chris Dritsas YouTube, but I'm like, it's not like a cool fancy name or anything like that. I'm in that weird transitional period where I'm like kind of looking for a new group of people, or like trying to like market myself, which I feel I don't know how to do that, so I'm just figuring that out.
And that's something else they help you out with here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the other thing you're working on this term.
Yeah,
Working with Lynn to put that stuff together so you can market yourself coming out of the program.
Yeah, and become like comfortable with like being like, I'm a filmmaker, or like I make, yada yada yada.
I make movies,
and not feel like, I still feel like I'm dying on the inside when I say that a little bit. But it's like at least outwardly I can like mask it a little bit better.
I just want to get to the point where I can tell somebody I make movies, and they're immediate, and I don't immediately have to follow it up with no, not porn.
Yeah.
once they can tie it to some sort of well-known television or cinema or something like that.
Yeah.
That is success.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This next film is not going to help me though. I'm not going to lie. I think we put out flyers. I don't know if you want to go into it or not, but my term 3 is it's a Boy Meets World type thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Hinkle Knows Best, as if it was like from the POV of like Mr. Feeney.
Okay.
And it's basically about him, and he's just helping out these high school kids like with their problems. Like he's helping them get through puberty and love and etc.
Yeah.
And that's like the setup, but the twist is that all of the characters, including the teenagers, like regardless of gender or age, are all played by huge bodybuilder men. And they're greased up and they're wearing Speedos, and that's it. And so we just
playing it completely straight. Otherwise,
playing it completely straight. Why? I don't know.
Do you have like that da 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 like background music?
That's
to go
what we
along
want.
with
Yeah,
it?
Like everything that you can like picture about like that '90s style, like where it's like
that
the credits.
Full House.
Yeah, we have like a theme song like written, like we. I don't know if maybe I might put Alec in it as like the class pet. And it's like imagine
put him in a dog costume or something like that.
I'm thinking like there'll be like a terrarium in the background, and you'll see like a little man in a terrarium, like he's a hamster.
You'll actually shrink him down.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Okay.
And he'll be like eating a giant pellet or something, and like we just don't call attention to it. Like he's just there in the background. But yeah, like I know Matt White from Orange. He's helping me out. It was his idea. We're writing it together. We might co-direct it, and he and I were working on like putting up posters and like Craigslist ads. And I was like, how are we going to do this without making it sound like porn? And we were like, oh, we know. Let's state that it's not porn in like bold letters like 8 times. So it's like, I think it starts off with like, first off, it's a picture of like a huge man, but like then it's like, are you very strong, underlined? And then it's like, want to act in a film? And then it's like bold letters, this is not porn.
So I may be able to help you with this.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because when I was in DC, we made this sketch called Buff Circuit, and it was a ripoff of it's not Iron Man. What's the CrossFit? And it was talking about like a girl who's like trying to get into shape and like trying to be healthy, and then she goes to a friend's like engagement party, and another friend of theirs shows up who has been doing CrossFit, and it's this girl who's an improviser in DC. She's since moved away, but Megan Gallagher, and she now has her own like Instagram channel, YouTube channel. Like she's big in the world of bodybuilding now. Mm-hmm. But she was in it, and she came in and she was great. She played it up as like, yeah, you have to try it. I did this juice cleanse. You shit for days, but it cleanses your soul. Like she had all these great lines for it. And we have her doing like curls with a guy, like he's the barbell that she's curling, like
a man.
Actually, no, he was doing the curls with her, and then she's squatting him.
Okay.
Like he's laying across her shoulders, and they're like, go. Like we've got all that. But because she does all the YouTube channel stuff, I can reach out to her and see. She does a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
She may know some people in the Chicago land area
that'd be
that
amazing.
do that sort of thing. And if you get 1 or 2 of those, I'm sure you can spread out and find a bunch of them. They'll do like competitive bodybuilding, so they'd be completely.
And that's exactly what we're looking for too, is like the competitive bodybuilder type. Oh my God. Okay, so this is going back to that question again. Like, what did you learn? There is this. They even tell us this. There's like this weird thought of like you have to keep your ideas close and like keep them hidden. Don't do it. Like if you like literally right now, just this conversation, you may have like made my movie. And if I had not done that, I would have just been using some schlubby guy from the gym or something, or like been like, I guess I have to do something else. That's probably the biggest thing. Like, tell your ideas, people. Like, I know, like, you don't want people to take them or something like that, but if they're not complete shitheads, they're not going to steal your idea. They're going to want to elevate it. They're going to get excited about it and help you.
Yeah.
You know?
This is funny. I think I can help. I can help.
Oh, this is amazing. Like, I did not expect this today. It's like, oh, great, cool. Like, I have a whole list of things I have to get done today. It's like, one of them is like, find more hunks. And like, okay, I might have.
And you did it by doing a podcast.
Yeah,
interview.
like, how wonderful is that? That's
Well, I
great.
appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been great.
That was Chris Dritsas. Thank you to Chris and to the Harold Ramis Film School and the Second City staff for their help. The song on this week's episode was Flutter by the Great Heights Band off their new album Rad-Pop, available now on iTunes and Google Play. This show was recorded and edited by me, Tony Lazzeroni. If you want to hear more from me and my classmates, teachers, and a few special guests, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you have questions or comments, send us an email at filmstudentpod@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Instagram at filmstudentpod. And be sure to check out some of my and my classmates' work at filmstudentpod.com. I made sure to add Chris's film Head Funds for you all to enjoy. See you all next week. Class dismissed.